What's happening, bonsai friends? Today I'm going to be repotting this big Chinese elm. This Chinese elm was wrapped in a towel when I bought it. It had rooted through the towel into the ground, and as you can see it's produced quite vigorous growth. And what I've done is I've put the root ball into this container, filled with soil around, and left it alone for the best part of a year. So now what I'm going to do is remove it from this container out here. I'm going to remove the soil that I used to heal in the root ball. Then I think I'll come inside into the conservatory to do the majority of the work. So let's dive in then, shall we? Oh, if you're new here, consider subscribing. My name's Darren and my channel is all about bringing you information and inspiration as I grow my trees through the seasons. I'm super excited about this actually. We've revealed some beautiful surface roots that I didn't even know were there. We've got extra root base along here, and if I turn this around, on this side we've revealed this gorgeous beautiful spread of roots that come down from the trunk here. Super excited about this one. I mean, I didn't think I would be disappointed by it, but I was a bit worried about what would be in this area. Having such a lot of prominent roots on this side, I was concerned that it would be empty here, but actually we've got quite a lot going on down there. Super. So I think what I'm going to do is remove these long branches. Being as long as they are, they're right in the way. I'm having to duck and weave just to walk around the tree. So we'll cut those back and then we'll look at the planting angle. So making sure that I've got plenty of nodes from which new buds will be able to form, I'm going to cut back using my saw. There are plenty of leaf scars here, so we know that there are plenty of nodes for new growth to emerge from. So I'm going to cut just above the shoulder so that we can be sure that we're not going to get dieback. And having this branch here, that's going to help prevent dieback issues as well. This is where a third arm would come in handy, or an assistant. My usual bonsai assistant isn't here today, she's at school. I'll clean this stub up later. For now I'll just dress them to promote healing, prevent dieback. So in order to clean up where the saw's been through, I'm going to use the razor sharp knife just to expose a cleanly cut fresh piece of cambium. That cleanly cut cambium is going to heal much better than any scraggy, torn, ripped cells. And we'll do the same on this branch, even though we don't intend to use it in the design. Anything we can do to ensure good healing is always going to be advantageous. Last but not least, do this one as well. Just a smear of Vaseline just to prevent that drying out too quickly. Okay, that's better. I can see what I'm doing now. So I think the next job is going to be to hoist it onto my makeshift turntable, and we'll see about choosing a front and a planting angle. Weighs an absolute metric ton. Alrighty, so let's just revolve it around. Okay, so let's talk about some of its features then. So the first thing, let's look at the base. So we've got this interesting flying root here. It's not going to be to everyone's taste, but I'm not going to remove that. It's, you know, it's been part of the tree for donkeys. I think it's, you know, it's part of the tree's character now. We've got some good roots in this area. Along here, probably can't see them too well on the camera, but we've got one that comes down here, one here, and there's some good surface roots here, along here. So we've got quite a lot of interest on this side of the tree. So yeah, there's a bit of a gap here in the surface roots. And as we come around to this side, there are some surface roots going on here. They're quite snaky. In fact, all of them are quite snaky. I think that's a trait of the species. But there is some interest in terms of roots along this side. So looking at the trunk then, first thing to note is that we've got some movement here. And generally, I think the tree is currently leaning this way, and then it changes direction here. So I'd say the widest trunk base is either somewhere in this angle or somewhere in here. If it wasn't for the empty space here, that would look quite wide, but because we've got this open gap, although it's an interesting feature, it's not really the widest section of base. We've also got this section of inverse taper here. So that's probably not the best angle. And I think the same is probably true for there as well. I've marked 3 potential fronts, taking into account the movement, the base, the thickness of the trunk. So I think this is a potential front because we've got quite a wide base, we've got some nice bark, thickish trunk, good bit of movement. This could be quite an interesting front. Then we've got what I think is currently the front, which has a pretty good base, plenty of interest, some dead wood, and pretty good movement through the trunk, nice wide base. And I think the third potential front will be somewhere around here, where we've got some nice root spread and we've got a nice bit of movement to the trunk, taking in some of the bark, and good movement further up as well. The trunk movement from this angle is quite two-dimensional actually. Kind of looks a bit flat to me from that angle. I think I'm going to choose the current front for a couple of reasons. The base is pretty good from this angle. The trunk has a nice bit of movement. There's some interest, and also the apex is coming forward towards the viewer. Although this angle has a good base, it's a bit bland through this section. Also, there's a bit of inverse taper here. I think this would make a really good front actually. The reason I'm not going for it at the moment is simply because where the tree is being developed in a rectangular container, this is the widest aspect of the root ball. And in order to get it into a decent bonsai pot, that would need to be the narrowest aspect. So I suspect that would be too much of an ask to get that as the front, at least in this iteration. We can always change it further on when we've got a tighter, more compact root ball. But I think for now, the easy option is going to go with the existing front. But as I said, could well change my mind. Okay, let's play with the planting angle then. I've propped it up to lean this way, and that's changed things a reasonable amount. I think that somewhere in that angle suddenly looks really attractive with this change of angle, but also somewhere between the two markers is also looking pretty spectacular. So excited about this. This is brilliant. Yeah, so I really like the movement. The base is nice, and we've got some really interesting movement from this view. And the bark on this side of the tree is fantastic. I mean, it's just beautiful. And this view is even stronger. I think that's a fantastic view. But anyway, let's change the angle again. Let's switch around to the other side. So this angle is doing some pretty unusual things with the base. So the flying root is going to be even more flying. This root here is it's exactly horizontal, and we'll be burying a lot of this side. I do like the flow of the tree, really pushing off to the side, but I think this is, it's not an optimal angle for the base. I think the other angle was better overall. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. What would you do? Leaning that way again. I think it's got to be leaning this way. What do you think? Write me and let me know. Yeah, I'm going to go for this angle. So this root's going to be a little bit awkward from this angle. It's going to be sticking up a little bit. But I think in the long run we'll be able to address that. It might be that we tilt slightly backwards as well. That'll help. Or maybe we don't lean quite so far. But yeah, I think overall this is the winner. So now that I've chosen at least the planting angle, just like with the hornbeam, it's a case of coming underneath, establishing a flat base that is at the angle that supports our new planting angle. You've seen me chopstick soil from a root ball before. I think I'll do this off camera, and I'll chat to you in a bit. So I've got the tree on its side, as you can see, and I've removed an amount of soil. And I just wanted to show you, dead roots, just wanted to show you something quite interesting that I've uncovered. I think I'm going to end up bare rooting this tree, and the reasons are twofold. First, because the tree was growing really strongly with its roots having grown through to the ground. It's got plenty of energy, it can definitely take it. But also, I will show you the second reason right now. Inside the root ball, we've got some stone. Now that explains why the tree is so damn heavy. There's this one and there's at least another one which I think is a house brick. And the reason these are here is because obviously this tree was grown in the ground for a period of time. I guess the tree was then dug up, stones and all, including all of this garden soil, I guess, and potted. Okay, let's keep going then and see what else we can find in here. I found seashells and all sorts. This tree, as far as I know, is from Wolverhampton, which is about as far from the coast that you can get in the UK. So goodness knows how seashells made it in here. Maybe it lived in a coastal garden at some stage. Once I've published this video, I'll send it to Steve, the guy that I bought this tree from. So if you're watching, Steve, let me know what the history of this tree is. I'd love to know more about it. Steve did tell me that he got it from a mate. Something like, if I remember rightly, he said about 15 years ago, something like that. Sadly, his mate passed away shortly after. But anything else you can tell us, Steve? I'd love to know. I find this really interesting tree. Okay, I'm going to continue with this work off camera, and I'll join you again shortly if I find anything else interesting. Woo! That was fun. So, what I have been doing since we last spoke, which for me was ages ago, but for you was moments. What I've been doing is removing more and more soil, exposing roots, removing the weeds, dandelions and whatnot. I'm getting pretty close to having bare rooted the tree now. There's not many things that I enjoy more than bare rooting trees that are planted in mud. But look at it there, it's coming on really nicely. Super excited. Cannot wait to get it into the container. Okay, there we go. That was a bit of a faff, but I've got there now. I've got two supports to maintain the angle. The trunk comes back a little and then sweeps back forward, and we've got that lean to the side to give it just a bit more interest. So it's now nice and firm, supported at the angle we want. Let's get this filled with soil then. The soil that I'm using is part akadama and part molar clay. Get the soil down into those hollows. Don't have to be too precise to start with, and then once all the big spaces have been approximately filled, then we can come in and do precise chop sticking to get everything integrated nicely and make sure that all those hollows underneath are well filled. Look around this side. Some good spaces to fill there. I'm still just working the soil in. I'm not doing a precise chopstick at the moment. Just searching around for any obvious hollow bits and encouraging the soil to drop in. It's not perfect at the moment, but now that we've got some soil in, I'm going to tighten the tie down wires. Pew. Okay, chopsticking time. This time we're going to be more precise. There we go, finding the hollows like that. That's where I wish I had a better memory. I could remember where all the roots and all the hollows were. But I can't. We are done with the chopsticking. Nice little top dress of moss. Doesn't need to be too thick. If it is too thick, just spread it out a little bit. Just make sure it all looks good. A couple of stray stragglers to just trim back. We're all done here. I've really enjoyed doing this repot. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be seeing you soon. Catch you later.